Hey everybody, it's Sukawa, and we are back. It's been a while. Today we're going to do a little season reflection for VBL-S Season 8. This was the first season of Gen 9, and the Togekiss has had quite a successful entry to the next generation of VGC. So I think it'll be a good time before this new draft we have coming up to sort of reflect on what was so good about this team, how I approached my draft and how that strategy was successful, and look at some of the mons that helped me have such a successful season. I know I didn't post the last two matches, so if you haven't been following along on the server, we're going to go into the results of those. I didn't get a chance to record finals and grand finals, but we'll talk about it all in a moment. So yeah, we're just going to get right into it. To start off, I wanted to kind of talk about a little overview, just like my season at a glance here. So, those last 2 weeks, we were able to beat Tay in a rematch 2-0 in the conference finals, making us the conference champion for the NU conference. And then we ended up losing to Ray in the grand finals 0-2. So we lost our first game of the season at the very end. Regular season was very, very positive in our favor. 7-0. 14-2 in matches. We only dropped a couple games. My playoff wins were pretty dominant as well prior to the grand finals, and that's where we met our maker, Ray, who had an outstanding season, definitely worthy of the grand champion, and a newcomer too, so that you just love to see that. But this was really surprising to me. I kind of felt that after the draft that my team was something I'd be able to play around more comfortably, and that it had the potential to be very strong, just based off of how well I executed my plan prior to the draft. My plan was really get a screen setter, get bulky offense, don't worry about speed tiers, and win. That was kind of like my theory, and it worked really even better than I anticipated. A lot of matches throughout the season I played, I felt like I was in control of the game, and I think part of that is because of how comfortable I am with the screen's play style. And later on in this video, after we go through my sort of the members and the players of my team, I do want to talk about just why screens are so good in general, in not only in Gen 9, but Draft League in general and in Pokemon in general. They've been a really, really big part of my personal successes with competitive Pokemon. So yeah, we're going to get into all that. But let's look at some of the mons I had that made this team so oppressive. So I compiled some notes here for myself just to bounce off of as far as the major players of my team. And when I look at my lineup of 11, the first two that stand out above all the others was Klefki and Dirge. Man, these two were incredible for me. Just the backbones of my team, especially Klefki. Klefki came to 14 matches out of 16 regular season matches and came to all my playoff matches. Just the total backbone of my entire strategy that I was going for. Obviously, if you're going to run a bulky offense screens team, you need a good screen setter. And Klefki was that for me. I mean, great typing, bulky enough to where it doesn't die in like one hit, so it can actually set multiple screens and do other things. What I noticed was, like, when I led Klefki, which was very often throughout the season, this was kind of what I theorized prior, but when you lead Klefki or any other screen setter along with a bulky offense mon, like a Quack, a Skeledirge, a Dragonite, this sort of allows you some freedom, because the opponent has to make a decision. They say, okay, do I eliminate the Klefki and prevent them from setting up? If I do that, then this bulky offense mon that's sitting next to it gets a free reign to set up, start taking KOs, start snowballing. So it's kind of a predicament that opponents found themselves in, and I think that's what drove a lot of my success, honestly. So there was even some times throughout the year where Klefki ran Trick Room and really came in clutch. There were two instances, one versus Pop in week 1 and one versus Tay week 7, where I was able to click Trick Room on the same turn that they clicked Tailwind and just sort of dominate after that. So just that threat of even having Trick Room, the mind games were incredible with this mon up in lead. Another thing that worked in its favor was that Fake Out was very rare. I did not encounter much Fake Out, which pretty much always gave me the freedom to set up a turn 1 screen and mitigate that damage right away without having to worry about having a free turn for them to get damage off without my screens up. So yeah, I mean, absolutely worth the price I paid for it. paid dividends, worked even better than I imagined. So really happy with Klefki. Also, Skeledirge was just even better than I expected. I kind of like this mon because Unaware was cool, great typing, offensively at least, bulky, and it was a starter, and I wanted to use it. But this thing was a complete menace. Oh my god! I mean, Unaware is just busted on a mon that has the kit that this thing has. So, you know, when you think of Unaware mons of the past, like Quagsire, it's like, yeah, you know, hard to kill, but this thing has scaling offense with that bulky hard to kill. Like, it has Torch Song. You could run Throw Spray Torch Song. You set your +2 special attack after 1 successful hit, which also does 80 damage, 80 base power. So it's really just incredible. Not to mention its incredible defensive bulk. I ran AV a couple weeks for sure. Lots of different sets. Throat Spray, Leftovers. I think I ran some Berries, Terra Grass stuff going on. This thing came in clutch versus Dondozo as well as a Terra Grass, Unaware counter. Just wrecked it. Had no answer, which really paid off for me in the playoffs. But leading this thing with Klefki was also just really, really good. I found a lot of the time. It was a really good switch up. It was also good to have in the back. It was just really solid, and I would really recommend somebody give this mon a try in future seasons because this thing was so fun to use. I love it. Next up, we've got our next 2 bulky attackers that were critical to this strategy, Dragonite and Quack. Dragonite came less than I thought it would. It was my first round pick. Only came in 6 games out of 16 in the regular season, but when it came, it was really strong. It was the perfect mon with Klefki. Multi-scale with screens also complemented its typing pretty well. It was just so hard to remove. I was amazed every week at the kind of hits this thing was living. Another thing I noticed too was that just leading this thing, so many opponents just Terra Ghosted turn 1. When a lot of times when I wasn't even planning on e-speeding it. So the threat of that Terra Normal e-speed with a choice band or life or whatever was just really oppressive and changed the way opponents built and led their matches. So that was also an added bonus. But this thing was just a beast. It was a perfect complement to the bulky screens archetype. So was Quack, actually. The dynamic scaling of Quack just single-handedly won me games. This was my favorite mon to use this season by far. Aqua Step with a Moxie boost, boom, you have like a free Dragon Dance and you took a KO. Really awesome. An interesting thing about this mon with screens as well was that I very rarely needed to invest in speed because I could always assure myself I would live a hit most of the time by setting up a respective screen. So I was able to invest in bulk and attack, and then after the speed boost from Aqua Step, I would be outspeeding anyway. So I kind of got the best of both worlds with that. And I was able to focus on its offensive output and living hits more so than will it outspeed this random mon. And that was sort of a thing with the screen strategy in general that I found. So that was really good. Next 2 that were standouts to me were Glamora and Toadscruel. Glamora, turns out any mon with 130 special attack is going to be really heavy hitter. I ran a lot of choice items on this thing, Scarf, Specs, and it took a lot of KOs. Especially early on in my season, I was bringing this thing consistently, and it was just dominating people. You know, really fast power gems with a Scarf. I even ran Terra Rock a couple times to like ensure a KO and live a hit. Ran Sash. Toxic Spikes got even good use of me. It actually won me a critical match versus Tay. I'm not sure if it was I think it was in the regular season where I was able to break the Sturdy on Donphin because the Toxic Spikes were out there. So that ended up having merit, which I wasn't really sure about before the season started. But this mon was really good and really fun to use too. Just, it's kind of like baby Nihilego, without Meteor Beam, obviously. If Meteor Beam gets added to this game, this thing is going to be really good, really good. And I'm excited to see how other people use it, or maybe pick it up myself again. Toadscruel was kind of interesting. I didn't realize this until I looked at the stats. I only brought it to a single match one time, and I don't remember. I think I won the match. But the biggest thing about this mon was just the threat, and I brought it 9 times in preview, despite it only hitting the field 1 time. This thing changed the way opponents prepped and led in their games. If they saw it in preview, they had to consider that it could come and start sporing things if you don't have an answer. It could redirect and let something really bad happen. So just that threat was worth the 4 points alone, even if it didn't end up hitting the field for me. As for why it didn't hit the field for me, I think it was just better to have Klefki most times. And, you know, I didn't really want to bring both in most scenarios just because I would be lacking a certain amount of offense that I needed for my strategy. So it was mostly just kind of like a threat to have in preview, but it did that exceptionally well. Now for everything else, these are the other 4 Mons in the back that, definitely had their moments to shine throughout the year, but weren't those consistent building blocks of my team every week. Rotom came a lot out of these options for sure. As I predicted, Terra Electric Rotom of any form can just dish out devastating damage. You put Specs with Terra Electric on, and anything is just getting eaten alive by a Thunderbolt. And it also does take away all those type weaknesses. So Rotom is good. Definitely solid to have one form of Rotom on your draft team. Levitate is awesome to have in prep. It's a good Scarfmon, decent bulk, can be support, really solid. Scyther was great value at 2. Had some niche uses for me as an offensive threat. I ran Eviolite on it a couple times, and it did come versus Canner, I think, and or maybe Tay, I don't remember, in the playoffs, and ended up getting some critical KOs for me. So definitely happy with the investment for 2 points. I mean, that's usually like a Bagmon, so this thing was great. Caparajah didn't actually come that much, and I think this was because I didn't really need to lean into that hard Trick Room mode very often throughout the season, but this Mon's solid and will have success in future seasons for sure. It was clutch a couple weeks. I did like a Terra Fairy thing one time, and it worked really well under Trick Room. But it just didn't have a need to come most weeks over other options. And Persian was a total bench warmer. I picked this thing up pretty early in the draft, like fifth round. Never felt like it was needed. I always had Toadscruel or Klefki coming into the lineup ahead of it. I really never felt the need to waste a Mon slot on this guy. I don't think it's bad at all. I just think it didn't really fit with the rest of my team. I didn't need it, given the strategy I was running consistently. So probably could have used those points better, but it was only 3 points. So, maybe that and like something else could have got me a better Mon. But it's splitting hairs at that point. It was just a bench warmer. I never even considered bringing it for the most part. And then I want to give a special highlight to the man, the myth, the Oinkaloni, the bacon. So this was like my highlight of my season, honestly. My first matchup versus Tay, I was like not feeling too confident about. I was like, you know what? Let's bring something crazy. I want to bring this Oinkaloni. I think it actually had a really good matchup just because his team was very physically bulky. And he was weak to fighting, like a lot of fighting weaknesses. Didn't really have a way to hit it if it was Terra Ghosted. So this was like the perfect set to bring, and it dominated that match. I mean, it came all 3 games. It only picked up 2 KOs, I think, but it was unkillable. Like with the Apricot Berry, the Stuffed Cheeks becoming +2 defense, +1 special defense, with Terra Ghost and Body Press, it was just too much. And it was really, really gave me a good big confidence boost too. Going into that game 1 and seeing it succeed despite the loss in that game 1. But I just love that. I guess I'm proud of myself that I had the creativity to try and the courage to try something like that versus such a great coach. In the past, I think I typically have a reputation of playing it safe on my builds and not really venturing out into the crazy heat. So that's why I was so proud of this set, because I feel like that was my first moment where I was like, yes, I have like a creative, weird thing that actually worked and doesn't look stupid. So yeah, I just wanted to shout that out. It wouldn't be a season overview if I glossed over that for me, because it was such a highlight. So yeah, that was the team, and I think I kind of went over most of the reasons why it was so oppressive. It was just the combination of the Klefki with the bulky offense served me really well. And with that, I just wanted to end this by talking about generally why screens are so effective in Draft League and why they work so well for me. So this is something I've considered making an independent video on, where I actually have like replay analysis, and I may still do that in the future. I feel very comfortable with the screen playstyle. The other season of the VBL where I had success, I had Grimmsnarl with screens as well. So why are they so effective in VGC? My biggest thing I would say about this is that screens simplify the game. So what I mean by that is it's like playing on easy mode. Like your decisions are not as, I don't want to say impactful. Your decisions are, like a bad decision is not as devastating under screens, because typically it doesn't absolutely crush and like destroy one of your mons with a KO. So it sort of gives a safety net for unexpected options. It's like if someone has like a Scarf that you didn't expect, or like a weird Terra to a type that would like normally KO your Mon, setting up that reflector light screen on turn 1 accounts for that and lets you live and then make an adjustment or another decision. I also think that since I was running screens every week, the importance of damage calcing was so much less for me. I literally did like 2 calcs the entire season, and one of those was on the Dondozo just to make sure that I wasn't misunderstanding how that interaction worked. But I didn't feel the need to calc just because typically most things were not KOing after the respective screen with my bulk investment that I was able to attribute to it. So building felt easier. Like, just like even like all the EV spreads, like not having to worry about speed tiers like that, focusing on bulk and offense. Like, I didn't run any crazy EV spreads. It was pretty much like max HP, max attack, or special attack with an adamant or modest nature, like every time. Unless I needed some sort of weird speed interaction. I really didn't do much speed creeping at all. And I think this is one of the benefits of screens, is like if you are running that bulky offense with the screen setup support, this allows you to like ignore speed wars. You can just focus on bulky attackers that either, and this works especially well if they have priority, but you could just focus on that offensive output. And that's really all you have to worry about once you click the screens. It's kind of brainless. Like, you don't have to worry about like, oh, are they going to click Icy Wind here? And how do I get the speed advantage back? You don't really care if you're living the hit anyway. And this format was relatively lower power level compared to what we're about to walk into in Reg C. So, you know, I think this worked really well for that purpose because nothing was really able to break through that screen wall. And it proved to be true all season. Like, I kept expecting it to eventually fail, but I kept bringing screens and it kept winning me games. And I think that really is just because of how strong they are. And they really do simplify and make it easier. Like, I felt throughout the year that when I was making decisions in game, I never felt like I was panicking in all these games. You know, the positioning was just so much easier to deal with because of the screen support. So, would I recommend you give the screens a try if you're looking for a fun play style that makes the game easier? Yeah, give it a try. There's a lot of great screen setters, Klefki, Grimmsnarl, Sableye. Hopefully you have success with it. I certainly have in my career, and I think it's a lot of fun, just like living hits, tanking up. It's like one button press, you get both Mons damage reduction by like 40%, which is kind of crazy. Like one button you press. So that's why they're so good, in my opinion. And like I said, I may do a more, that was kind of me rambling about it. I want to do an analysis on that with some replays of mine from past draft leagues this season and the other, but we'll see. But that's sort of my season review. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions about my team or the season as a whole, or what your thoughts were about how everything went down. But I'm really excited for this next chapter in the VBL. Season 9's coming up, and we are going to have a lot of fun with some paradoxes. We got some ruin Mons coming in, and we'll see what sort of strategy that I come up with for my draft plan. Right now, I just found out that I'm pick 10, which I think was about where I was last season. I will not be picking Klefki again, but we'll see. We'll see what happens this time. I really haven't done too much of a deep dive into what my plan is going to be, but I'm hoping it's going to be a good one and that we can continue some more success in the Gen 9. But I'm really proud of this season and what I was able to accomplish. Thanks, everybody, for your support and for watching. I wouldn't make content like this for any other league, so I'll see y'all soon in the next season for some more content. Peace.